I was adjusting Margaret Sullivan's oxygen mask when her son walked into the room. I hadn't seen him in 3 months. Not since the day Margaret was admitted to St. Luke's Medical Center with stage 4 lung cancer. 3 months, 93 days. I'd been caring for Margaret every shift I worked, watching her decline, watching her hope fade, watching her wait by the phone for calls that never came. And now, suddenly, here was Thomas Sullivan, walking in like he'd been there every day. "Mom! I came as soon as I heard!" Margaret's eyes opened, confused at first. Then recognition, then something else, hope. "Tommy, you're here?" "Of course I'm here. Why wouldn't I be here?" "Because you haven't been here for 3 months, I thought." But I didn't say it. I just watched. Watched Margaret's face light up like he'd hung the moon. Watched Thomas sit down and take her hand. Watched him play the role of devoted son. And then I heard him say the words that made my blood run cold. "Mom, we need to talk about your estate. The lawyer said it's important we get everything in order before anything happens." Margaret's face changed, the hope dimmed, just a little, just enough that I noticed. "Oh, is that why you came?" "What? No, Mom, of course not. I came to see you. I've been worried sick, but while I'm here we should probably discuss practical matters, just to make sure everything's taken care of." Just to make sure everything's taken care of. 3 months of silence. And he showed up the day after Margaret's lawyer called the family to discuss her estate. I've been a nurse for 40 years. I've seen this before. I've seen them disappear when someone's sick. I've seen them reappear when they hear the word inheritance. And I've seen the look on dying patients' faces when they realize their children came for money, not love. That look was on Margaret Sullivan's face right now. And it broke my heart. If you've ever had family show up only when there's something to gain, leave a comment. And if you're new here, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. It all started 3 months earlier. August 4th, 2016, Thursday afternoon, 2:17 p.m. I was working the oncology unit when they admitted Margaret Sullivan, 73 years old, stage 4 lung cancer with metastasis to her bones, given 4 to 6 months to live. She came in from the emergency room, severe pain, difficulty breathing, weight loss of 35 pounds in 2 months. Her daughter Diane was with her during admission, 51 years old, teacher, tired eyes, worried face, holding her mother's hand the entire time. "My mom has been living alone since Dad died 5 years ago," Diane told me while we were getting Margaret settled. "She's been managing okay, but the cancer, it's progressing so fast. She can't be alone anymore. Not safely." "Do you have other family who can help?" "I have a brother, Thomas, but he lives in California. He's very busy, runs his own tech company. It's hard for him to get away." The way she said it, like she'd said it 1,000 times, like she'd spent her whole life making excuses for Thomas. "What about extended family? Friends?" "Mom's best friend Helen comes by when she can, but she's 75 herself. She can't be a full-time caregiver." "And you?" "I'm trying. I have a full-time job. 2 kids, a husband. I'm doing the best I can, but it's a lot." I could see the exhaustion in her face, the guilt, the feeling of carrying everything alone. "We'll help you figure out a care plan," I said. "Let's focus on getting your mom comfortable first. Then we'll work on what comes next." Margaret was a lovely woman, kind, gracious, uncomplaining despite the constant pain. She'd been a librarian for 40 years, retired at 65. Spent her retirement reading, gardening, volunteering at the local library. She showed me pictures on her phone. Her late husband, Robert, dead 5 years from a heart attack. Her daughter, Diane. "My rock," Margaret called her. "I don't know what I'd do without her." Her son, Thomas. "My brilliant boy. He built his own company from nothing. I'm so proud of him." The way she talked about Thomas, with such pride, such love, such longing. "When's the last time you saw Thomas?" I asked carefully. Her face fell. 2 years ago, Christmas 2014. He flew in for 3 days, had to leave early because of work. Important meeting. He called on my birthday this year. Well, he texted. Very sweet message. 2 years, and she talked about him like he was father of the year. I'm sure he wishes he could visit more, she said. He's just so busy, building an empire. That's what Robert always said. Thomas is going to build an empire. And he has. I'm so proud. She kept saying that. So proud. Like if she said it enough times, it would make up for the fact that her son hadn't seen her in 2 years. Over the next 3 months, I watched a pattern develop. Diane came every single day, before work, during lunch, after work, weekends, every single day. She'd bring food, magazines, flowers, photos of the grandkids. She'd help Margaret eat when she was too weak to feed herself. She'd read to her when Margaret's eyes got too tired. She'd hold her hand when the pain got bad. She'd cry in the bathroom when Margaret couldn't see. She'd wash her face, compose herself, and go back in smiling. Every single day. Thomas called 3 times in 3 months. August 10th. Hey, Mom. Sorry it's been crazy. How are you feeling? September 2nd. Mom, I can't talk long. In a meeting. Just wanted to check in. October 18th. Happy birthday, Mom. Sorry I can't be there. Things are insane here. Love you. 3 calls. In 3 months. While his mother was dying. Margaret made excuses every time. He's so busy. He has so many responsibilities. It's not easy running a company. I understand. I really do. But I could see it in her eyes. The hurt, the disappointment, the slow, painful realization that her son wasn't coming. On October 23rd, Margaret's condition deteriorated significantly. Dr. Martinez called a family meeting. Mrs. Sullivan, your cancer has progressed. The pain is going to get worse. We can manage it with medication, but you're going to need round-the-clock care, either in a facility or at home with professional help. How long does she have? Diane asked. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. Weeks, maybe a month. I'm sorry. Weeks, maybe a month. Margaret looked at me. Will it hurt? At the end? We'll make sure you're comfortable. That's a promise. She nodded, closed her eyes. I'd like to go home. If that's possible, I'd like to die in my own house. In my own bed. Where Robert and I, where we built our life. We can arrange hospice care, Dr. Martinez said. They'll come to your home, provide medication, equipment, nursing support. I'll take time off work, Diane said immediately. I'll stay with her. I can... Honey, you can't take time off. You have your job, your family, your kids need you. You need me, Mom. I need you happy and healthy and living your life, not sacrificing everything to watch me die. The word hung in the air. Die. Margaret looked at Dr. Martinez. Can I ask you something? Honestly? Of course. Should I call my son? Should I tell him to come now? Or is that... Am I being dramatic? Is there still time? The question broke my heart. She was asking permission to ask her son to visit her while she was dying. Mrs. Sullivan, Dr. Martinez said gently, if you want to see your son, you should call him. Now, don't wait. Margaret nodded. Okay, I'll call him after you leave. I don't want an audience. We left her alone. 30 minutes later, I went back to check her vitals. She was crying, quietly, holding her phone. Mrs. Sullivan, are you okay? I called Thomas, left a voicemail. He didn't answer. He's probably in a meeting. I'm sure he'll call back soon. I told him the doctors said I only have a few weeks. I told him I'd like to see him, if he can get away. If it's not too much trouble. If it's not too much trouble. She was dying. And she was apologizing for asking her son to visit. I'm sure he'll come, Mrs. Sullivan. Maybe. He's very busy. I understand if he can't. She kept making excuses. Even now, even dying, she kept making excuses for him. Thomas didn't call back that day, or the next day. or the day after that. On October 26th, Diane called him. I know because I heard her in the hallway. Thomas, Mom is dying. She has weeks left. Maybe less. You need to come home. Pause. I know you're busy. I know you have the big investor pitch, but she's our mother. She's dying. Pause. Thomas, she called you 3 days ago. She left you a voicemail asking you to come. You didn't even call her back. Pause. That's not the point. The point is she needs you here. Pause. Fine. When the pitch is over, but please, Thomas, don't wait too long. I don't know how much time she has. She hung up, stood there in the corridor, breathing hard, trying not to cry. I walked over to her. Are you okay, honey? My brother is an asshole. I didn't disagree. He says he'll come after his investor pitch, next week, like our mother can schedule her death around his business meeting. I'm sorry. You know what the worst part is? She still defends him, even now, even when he can't be bothered to call her back. She still says, he's busy. He has responsibilities. I understand. Like his tech company is more important than saying goodbye to his mother. Diane wiped her eyes. I shouldn't talk about him like this. He's my brother. I love him, but I'm so angry. I'm so angry that I'm here every day, and he can't even return a phone call. You have a right to be angry. Do I? Because Mom doesn't seem angry. Mom just seems resigned, like she expected this, like she spent her whole life expecting him to disappoint her, and she's just not surprised anymore. She looked at me with desperate eyes. Is that what happens? Do parents just accept that some kids don't show up? Do they just make peace with being abandoned? Some do, because it hurts less than being angry, because anger requires energy they don't have, because they'd rather remember the good times than face the reality of now. That's heartbreaking. It is. Diane went back to her mother's room. I watched her go, and I thought, Thomas Sullivan better show up, because if he doesn't, he'll regret it for the rest of his life. Thomas didn't show up the next week. His investor pitch got delayed. Technical issues. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'll come as soon as this is resolved, I promise. Margaret smiled when she told me. He's coming, soon. He just has to take care of business first. That's my Tommy. Always so responsible. Always so responsible. Except when it came to his dying mother. On November 3rd, Margaret went home with hospice care. Diane took a leave of absence from work, moved into Margaret's house. Arranged her own kids' schedules so she could be there full time. Helen, Margaret's best friend, came every afternoon. The hospice nurse came twice a day. Thomas called once a week. How is she? She's dying, Thomas. How do you think she is? I'm coming, I swear, as soon as this deal closes. The deal always needed to close. There was always one more meeting, always one more presentation, always one more thing more important than his mother. By November 10th, Margaret was barely conscious most of the time. The pain medication kept her sedated. She'd wake up for a few hours each day, sometimes lucid, sometimes confused, sometimes asking for Robert, forgetting he'd been dead for 5 years, and sometimes asking for Tommy. Is Tommy here yet? Not yet, Mom, but soon. Did I miss him? Did he come while I was sleeping? No, Mom, you didn't miss him. Good. I want to see him. I want to tell him. I want to tell him I love him. Every day, the same question. Is Tommy here yet? Every day, the same answer. Not yet, Mom, but soon. And every day I watched a piece of Diane break. On November 15th, Margaret's lawyer called the family. Martin Whitmore, estate attorney, handled Margaret and Robert's wills 20 years ago. I need to discuss Mrs. Sullivan's estate with the family. Given her condition, we should finalize all arrangements. Diane took the call. Mr. Whitmore, my mother is unconscious most of the time. She can barely speak. Can't this wait? I understand it's difficult, but there are decisions that need to be made, tax implications, trust distributions, life insurance beneficiaries. If Mrs. Sullivan is still competent, Even intermittently, we should address these matters. What kind of estate are we talking about? Approximately $2.3 million. The house, investment accounts, retirement funds, life insurance. Everything is currently split equally between you and your brother. But there are some accounts that need updated beneficiaries, and Mrs. Sullivan mentioned she might want to make some changes. Changes? What kind of changes? She didn't specify, but she called me 2 weeks ago, said she'd been thinking about how to distribute her assets. Wanted to make sure everything reflected her wishes. We scheduled a meeting, but she was too ill to follow through. Diane was quiet for a moment. Mr. Whitmore, I need to tell my brother about this. He should be here for these discussions. Of course, I'll send out formal notification to all beneficiaries. We should meet within the week if possible. He sent the formal letters that evening, certified mail to both Diane and Thomas. Estate planning for Margaret Sullivan. Immediate attention required. Thomas called the next morning, 24 hours after receiving notice about his mother's estate. He'd ignored her voicemails for weeks. But he responded to the lawyer's letter in less than a day. Diane, I got a letter from Mom's lawyer. What's going on? Mom is dying. That's what's going on. I know that. I mean about the estate. The letter said she's making changes. What changes? I don't know, Thomas. I've been too busy keeping her comfortable to discuss her will. Has she said anything? About what she wants to do with the money? The money. Not, how is she feeling? Not, is she in pain? Not, should I come say goodbye? The money. No, Thomas. She hasn't said anything about the money. She's barely conscious. When she is awake, she asks for you. I'll come this weekend. I'll fly out Friday night. Why now, Thomas? Why didn't you come 3 weeks ago when she asked? Why didn't you come when the doctor said she had weeks left? Why are you suddenly available now? That's not fair, Diane. I've been dealing with the acquisition. It's a $50 million deal. I couldn't just walk away. She's our mother. I know, and I'm coming, this weekend. Jesus, Diane, why are you attacking me? Because you've been gone for 3 months. Because Mom is dying and you can't be bothered to visit until the lawyer sends a letter about her estate. That's not why I'm coming, isn't it? Silence. I'll be there Friday, Thomas said quietly. We can discuss this then. He hung up. Diane sat there holding the phone, looking at her unconscious mother, and crying. Thomas arrived Friday, November 17th at 6:43 p.m. I was there when he walked into the house. Diane had called me, asked if I could be there. Unofficial visit, friend capacity, not as her mother's nurse. I don't know why. I have a bad feeling about this weekend, about Thomas being here. And I'd feel better if you were around. So I came. Thomas walked in carrying a designer suitcase and wearing an expensive suit. He looked like he'd come from a board meeting, not a deathbed. Diane. Thomas. They hugged, awkwardly, like strangers who were supposed to be family. How is she? Sleeping. She's been asleep most of today. Hospice nurse said she might not wake up, or she might wake up for an hour or two. There's no way to predict. Can I see her? Of course. Diane led him to Margaret's bedroom. I followed at a distance. Margaret was lying in the hospital bed that hospice had provided. Oxygen cannula in her nose, IV morphine drip running, heart monitor beeping softly. She looked so small, so frail. Cancer does that. Takes people and makes them shadows. Thomas stood in the doorway, just stood there, staring. Oh my God, she looks dying. She looks like she's dying, because she is. He walked to the bedside, slowly, like he was afraid, or guilty, or both. Mom, it's Tommy, I'm here. Margaret's eyes didn't open. She didn't respond, just kept breathing. Slow, labored. The sound of someone at the end. Thomas took her hand. I'm sorry I didn't come sooner, Mom. I'm sorry I was busy. I'm here now. I'm here. Too little too late, I thought. But I didn't say it. I just watched, watched him sit there for exactly 7 minutes. I timed it. 7 minutes with his dying mother. Then he stood up. I'm going to get some air. This is a lot. He left. Diane looked at me. 7 minutes. He couldn't even sit with her for 10 minutes. Give him time. It's shocking to see someone like this. I've been seeing her like this for weeks. I didn't run away. You're right. You didn't. That evening, Thomas brought up the estate. We were sitting in Margaret's living room. Margaret still sleeping, hospice nurse checking on her every few hours. So, the lawyer. What's this about Mom making changes to her will? I don't know, Thomas. He said she called him, said she wanted to make some changes, but she was too sick to follow through. Changes like what? He didn't say. Just that she wanted to discuss her wishes. Thomas was quiet for a moment. Do you think she's upset with me for not visiting? Are you seriously asking me that? I'm asking because if she's upset, she might change her will, out of spite or hurt feelings. Oh my God. What? You're worried about your inheritance. That's why you're here. That's why you finally came. Not because Mom is dying. Because you're afraid she's going to cut you out of the will. That's not true. Then why didn't you come 3 weeks ago? Why didn't you come when she begged you to come? Why did you wait until you got a letter from her lawyer? I told you. The acquisition. The investors. Bullshit! You waited because you didn't think it mattered. You thought you could show up whenever you wanted and everything would be fine. But then the lawyer called and suddenly you're on a plane. Thomas stood up. I'm not going to sit here and be attacked by my sister. Then go home. Go back to California. Mom will die either way. At least then I won't have to watch you pretend to care. I do care. She's my mother. Then act like it. Sit with her. Hold her hand. Tell her you love her. Stop asking about money. They were shouting now, in the living room, while their mother lay dying 30 feet away. Stop, I said, standing up, using my nurse voice, the one that cuts through chaos. Stop yelling. Both of you. Your mother is dying. She doesn't need to spend her last days listening to you fight. They both looked at me. Thomas, your sister is right. You should be with your mother, not worrying about money. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I've been a nurse for 40 years. I've seen this 1,000 times. Family disappears when someone is sick, then magically reappears when they hear the word inheritance. And I've watched dying patients realize their children came from money, not love. It destroys them. In their final days, it destroys them. I didn't come from money? Then prove it. Go sit with your mother. Read to her. Talk to her. Hold her hand. Be her son, not her heir. He looked at me for a long moment, then walked back to Margaret's bedroom. Diane collapsed on the couch. Thank you. You're welcome. But honey, you need to prepare yourself. For what? For the possibility that your brother is here for the wrong reasons, and for the possibility that your mother knows it. The next morning, November 18th, Margaret woke up. 10:37 a.m., more lucid than she'd been in days. Thomas was there. Diane was there. I was there. Helen was there. Tommy? Margaret's voice was weak but clear. You came. I'm here, Mom. I knew you would. I knew you'd come. She smiled. That smile. Full of love. Full of forgiveness. Full of hope that maybe finally her son showed up because he loved her. How are you feeling, Mom? Tired, ready, but happy you're here. She looked at Diane. Both my babies, together. That's all I wanted. Diane took her other hand. We're here, Mom. I need to tell you both something, while I can still think clearly. Mom, you should rest. No, I need to say this. I don't have time to rest. She took a breath. The oxygen hissed. The monitor beeped. I love you both. So much. More than you know. You're my greatest accomplishment. My greatest joy. We love you too, Mom. Diane, you've been my rock. These last months, these last years, really. Since your father died, you've been there. Every time I needed you, every time I called, you came. You've sacrificed so much for me. Diane was crying. It wasn't a sacrifice, Mom. It was love. And Tommy, my brilliant boy, I'm so proud of what you've built. Your father would be so proud. You've achieved everything we dreamed for you. Thomas squeezed her hand. Thanks, Mom. But Tommy, I need you to hear something. Success isn't just about money. It's not just about building a company. It's about the people you love, the people who need you. It's about showing up. His face changed. I know I haven't been here as much as I should. You haven't been here at all. 3 months, Tommy. I've been dying for 3 months and you came once, for 7 minutes yesterday. The room went silent. Margaret's eyes were clear, sharp, all the morphine fog gone, replaced by painful clarity. You think I don't know why you're here now? You think I don't know about the lawyer's letter? Mom, that's not... Don't lie to me. Not now. Not at the end. I don't have time for lies. She looked at Diane. Tell him. Tell him what Mr. Whitmore said. Diane hesitated. Mom, you should rest. Tell him. Diane took a breath. The lawyer said Mom wanted to make changes to her estate. That she'd called him 2 weeks ago to discuss her wishes. Thomas went pale. Mom, if this is about me not visiting, it's not about one thing. It's about 20 years of things, of you being too busy, too important, too focused on your career to remember you have a family. That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time you came to see me? Not because someone was dying or getting married or because a lawyer called, just to see me? Silence. That's what I thought. Margaret closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were wet. I wanted to change my will, Tommy. I wanted to leave more to Diane, because she's earned it, because she's been here, because she's sacrificed her time and her energy and her life to take care of me. So you're cutting me out. No, I'm not cutting you out. Because even now, even knowing you only came because you heard the word inheritance, I still love you. You're still my son. And I can't bring myself to punish you the way you've punished me. She turned to look at Diane. But I want you to know, both of you, that showing up matters. Being present matters. You can't buy back time. You can't reschedule death. When someone needs you, you come. Not when it's convenient. Not when your business deal closes. Now. She looked back at Thomas. I'm leaving everything split equally, just like your father and I always planned. Half to Diane, half to you. $115 million each. You'll both be comfortable. Mom, I don't care about the money. Yes, you do. That's why you're here. That's why you finally got on a plane after 3 months. Because you heard about the estate. Not because I asked you to come. Not because I'm dying. Because of money. That's not true. Then why didn't you come when I called 3 weeks ago? He didn't have an answer. Couldn't have an answer. Because she was right. And he knew it. Margaret closed her eyes again. I'm tired now. I need to sleep. Diane, can you help me with my medication? Of course, Mom. Thomas stood there, frozen, shattered. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have come sooner. I should have been here. I was selfish. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Margaret opened her eyes one more time, looked at him, and I saw something in her face that broke my heart. Forgiveness mixed with disappointment. Love mixed with resignation. I know you're sorry, Tommy. I forgive you. But forgiveness doesn't change what happened. It doesn't give us back the time we lost. It doesn't make you any less absent from my life. I'll do better. I promise. Starting now, It's too late, baby. I'm dying. There's no more time to do better. She closed her eyes. I'd like to sleep now. Thomas walked out of the room, out of the house. I saw him through the window, sitting in his rental car, head on the steering wheel, shoulders shaking, crying, finally crying. But 3 months too late. Margaret Sullivan died 2 days later, November 20th, 2016. 3:47 a.m. Peacefully, in her sleep. Diane was there, holding her hand. Thomas was there too. He'd stayed. For 2 days, he actually stayed. Sat with her, read to her, talked to her, held her hand, did all the things he should have been doing for 3 months. But it was too late. Margaret barely woke up those last 2 days. When she did, she was confused. Thought Thomas was Robert. Asked where Tommy was. Didn't recognize that he was sitting right there. The morphine, the cancer, the end, it steals people before they're gone. When she took her last breath, Diane was crying. Thomas was crying. Helen was crying. I was crying. Everyone was crying. But the crying felt different. Diane's tears were grief. Pure grief for a mother she loved and cared for and would desperately miss. Thomas's tears were something else. Grief, yes. But also regret. Guilt. The terrible realization of what he'd lost. Not the inheritance, the time, the relationship, the chance to tell his mother he loved her while she could still understand. The funeral was on November 24th, Thanksgiving Day. Margaret had put it in her will years ago. If I die near Thanksgiving, have my funeral on Thanksgiving, because I want my family together, around a table, remembering me, being grateful for what we had. So they did. The service was at 10 a.m. Then everyone went to Margaret's house for Thanksgiving dinner. Diane cooked. Helen helped. Thomas sat in the living room looking at photo albums, pictures of Margaret, young Margaret with baby Diane and toddler Thomas, middle-aged Margaret at Thomas's college graduation, older Margaret at Diane's wedding, recent Margaret gardening in her backyard. He sat there crying, looking at his mother's life in pictures, realizing how much of it he'd missed. The will reading was the next day. November 25th, Martin Whitmore's office. Diane was there. Thomas was there. I wasn't there, but Diane told me everything. Martin Whitmore read the will, standard language, distribution of assets, everything split equally between Diane Sullivan Morrison and Thomas Sullivan. $1.15 million each. The house to Diane, with Thomas receiving equivalent value from investment accounts. Life insurance split equally. Personal belongings to be divided amicably. Is there anything else? Thomas asked. Actually, yes. Your mother left letters, personal letters to each of you, to be read after the will. He handed them sealed envelopes. I'll give you both privacy. He left. Diane opened hers first, read it silently, started crying. Thomas opened his. I don't know what Margaret wrote to Thomas. He wouldn't tell anyone. But Diane told me what her letter said. My dearest Diane, thank you. Thank you for being there when I needed you. Thank you for sacrificing your time, your energy, your life to care for me in my final months. Thank you for showing me what love really means. I'm leaving you and Tommy equal shares of the estate because that's what your father and I always planned. But I want you to know that you earned so much more than money. You earned my gratitude, my respect, my deepest love. You showed up. That's the greatest gift anyone can give. Not money, presence. Thank you for your presence in my life. I love you forever. Mom. Thomas read his letter, folded it carefully, put it in his pocket, and didn't say a word. 3 months later, Diane called me, February 2017. Sharon, I wanted to update you about Thomas. How is he? Different. He's changed. Changed how? He quit his job, sold his company, moved back to Atlanta. What? He said he spent his whole life building something that didn't matter, that he sacrificed his relationships for money and success, and in the end, he lost what was actually important. What's he doing now? He volunteers at hospice, helps families dealing with terminal illness, especially families where adult children live far away. He helps them understand the importance of showing up, I didn't know what to say. He also started calling me. Every day, just to check in, just to talk, just to be present. That's good. He said Mom's letter destroyed him. Whatever she wrote, he won't show it to anyone, won't talk about it. But he said it made him realize he'd wasted his whole life chasing things that didn't matter. Some people learn, some don't. Yeah, I'm glad he learned. I just wish he'd learned sooner, before Mom died, when it could have mattered to her. Maybe it did matter. Maybe knowing he finally understood was enough. Maybe. Diane was quiet for a moment. You know what the saddest part is? Mom left us equal shares, even though I was there and he wasn't. Even though she had every right to give me more, she still split it equally, because she loved him. Despite everything, she still loved him. That's what mothers do. It's not fair. No, it's not. But love isn't about fairness. It's about choice. And your mother chose to love both her children equally, even when one didn't deserve it. I guess that makes her better than me, because I'm still angry. I'm still angry that he only came when he heard about the inheritance. You have a right to be angry. But Mom wasn't. In the end, she forgave him. Why can't I? Because you're not your mother. And you don't have to forgive him just because she did. You can be angry. You can hold him accountable. You can make him earn your trust back. Is that fair? Fair? No. But it's human, and it's honest, and that's all anyone can ask. I've been a nurse for 40 years. I've seen a lot of deathbeds, a lot of families, a lot of last-minute arrivals, and I've learned something important. They only come when they hear the word inheritance. Not all of them. Some families are loving and present and supportive from beginning to end. But some disappear when things get hard, when someone is sick, when care is needed, when it's difficult and messy and painful. They disappear, make excuses, say they're busy, say they can't get away, say they'll come soon, always soon, never now. And then the lawyer calls. Then they hear about the estate. Then suddenly they have time. Suddenly they can get away. Suddenly they're on a plane. Not because they love you, not because they want to say goodbye, but because they want to make sure they're still in the will. Margaret Sullivan knew. In the end, she knew. She knew Thomas came for the money. She knew he'd ignored her calls for 3 months. She knew he'd prioritized his business deal over her death. She knew. And it broke her heart. But she forgave him anyway, left him half her estate anyway, loved him anyway, because that's what mothers do. They love their children even when their children don't deserve it, even when their children disappoint them, even when their children only show up for the inheritance. But here's what Thomas learned too late. The inheritance doesn't matter. The money doesn't matter. What matters is showing up, being present, holding someone's hand while they die, telling them you love them while they can still hear you, being there, not when it's convenient, not when the lawyer calls, but when they need you. Now, immediately, without hesitation, without excuses, because time is finite, life is short, and you can't buy back moments, you can't reschedule death, you can't inherit presence. All you can inherit is regret. And Thomas Sullivan inherited a lifetime of it. If you're listening to this story and you have a parent or sibling or friend who's sick, hear me clearly. Go see them. Now. Not next week. Not after your meeting. Not when it's more convenient. Now. Because later might be too late. And you'll spend the rest of your life regretting that you only came when you heard the word inheritance. Don't be Thomas Sullivan. Don't wait until someone is dying to realize they matter. Don't prioritize your career over your family. Don't assume there will always be more time. There won't be. Time runs out. People die. And all the money in the world won't buy you back a single moment you missed. Show up. Be present. Love people while they're alive. Not just when they're dying. Not just when there's money involved, but always, consistently, genuinely. Because that's what matters, not the inheritance, the relationship, the time, the presence, the love. That's what Margaret Sullivan wanted from her son. Not money, not success, just him. And by the time he understood that, it was too late. Don't let it be too late for you. Did you like my story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you liked the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.